Hello, everybody. It's Sheep's Sister here today, and I'm going to be telling you the story of one of the most decisive naval battles of the Napoleonic Wars, the Battle of Trafalgar. The Battle of Trafalgar took place on the 21st of October, 1805 in Cape Trafalgar, between the Allies France and Spain against the British Empire, who was known for their powerful navy at the time. At the time of the battle, Napoleon and his army were the most powerful army on land, while the British controlled the seas. When the Third Coalition, made up of Britain, the Holy Roman Empire, Russia, and others, declared war on Napoleon's France, Napoleon saw it as an opportunity to invade and conquer Britain. But first, he had to make sure his invasion flotilla would not be sunk by the British fleet. He needed to control the English Channel, and to do that, he needed to break out of the blockade that the British had set up around France. The commander of the French and Spanish fleet was a man named Villeneuve. Excuse my pronunciation. Villeneuve rendezvoused with the Spanish fleet at the Strait of Gibraltar. Together, they had a combined total fleet of 41 ships with around 25,000 sailors and marines aboard. Now they had one obstacle to pass: the British blockade. Villeneuve shot for a section of the blockade that seemed to be thinner, but actually it was a trap set by Admiral Lord Nelson, the British fleet commander, to lure the French into a large battle. But unfortunately, they drifted off with their station, and Villeneuve slipped by into the Atlantic. Nelson's fleet actually had a significantly smaller navy with only 33 ships and at around 17,000 sailors. But they had much more experienced and skilled officers. When Nelson learned that the French had crossed the Atlantic, he quickly changed direction and headed in pursuit of Villeneuve's fleet. After a long pursuit, the French had gained more ships from the Caribbean, and they finally met at a point called Cape Trafalgar off the coast of Spain. For the British to win this battle, Admiral Nelson had to come up with a plan, so he devised a strategy. Nelson would approach the British fleet in two lines of ships instead of the typical one-line strategy. By doing this, Nelson would be able to divide the French forces and, and force them to fight till the end. So on the 21st, Nelson put his plan into action. With Nelson and his flagship, the 104-gun HMS Victory, leading the first line, and the 100-gun Royal Sovereign leading the second line, they sailed right through the curved French and Spanish line and wreaked havoc. As more and more British ships arrived, the French and Spanish forces were overwhelmed. And then the unexpected happened. While on the main deck of the HMS Victory, Nelson was shot by a Frenchman during an attempted assault to seize the HMS Victory, but was ultimately repelled. It was recorded that Nelson's last words were, "God and my country," which has been deciphered to be him reciting his own prayer. After this, the French and Spanish forces were surrounded and are overwhelmed due to the superior British strategy. The battle ultimately ended with the British emerging victorious, with not one ship lost and only 458 dead and 1,208 wounded. And the French lost a total of 11 ships, with one being sunk and 10 were captured. The French also suffered 3,373 dead and 1,055 wounded, and 4,000 captured. The Spanish forces lost 11 ships and an overall 15,000 troops due to death, wounds, and being captured. Overall, this battle destroyed Napoleon's chance of invading Britain and dreams of having naval superiority. Well, thanks for listening, and I hope you learned something. This is Sheep's History, signing off.